Things just got way more intense for the St. Louis Blues as heading into next game with Jim Montgomery making multiple changes to the lineup. We get one player rejoining this group as he speaks out on exactly what he's looking forward to getting back into this Blues lineup and how everything is going to feel completely different with him joining the team. We're going to break down all of this, the line combinations, quotes from Logan Mayu, and so much more in this episode. You're not going to miss it. Before we get into that, Darius, if you haven't hit the sub button yet, it's completely free. It's down below. And in return, we'll give you daily updates from all around the St. Louis Blues, from trade reports, game recaps, post-game shows, anything you can think of, you can catch right here on Blues Digest. So go down and hit that free subscribe button. But let's hop straight into the episode today, where we know the St. Louis Blues have struggled a bit to start the season. It's a reoccurring thing we've talked about, but with the line changes heading into tonight's game and a few new faces joining the lineup, Darius, there's a lot to like. Listen, the Nick Bjugstad revenge game versus the Utah Mammoth. Listen, it's not the revenge game, but it's cool to see him go back against his former team. They're taking on a team that has been playing fairly well, a young, energetic team, and this is where St. Louis has the perfect opportunity to make a statement with Oskar, Sundqvist joining the lineup and Logan Mayu, Joel Hofer getting the start. Darius, we're going to look at the forwards before we get into Logan Mayu, the quotes from him and legends as well. But what is your thoughts on the forward group being confirmed going into tonight's game?
Couple interesting storylines heading into tonight, and we're also going to get into some interesting stats. So stay tuned for that tell the story of the team and where they're headed this year. And it's very interesting, and I think Blues fans are going to take great interest into that. So stay tuned for that. But interesting storylines heading into tonight. Jim Montgomery said that Sundqvist was looking like he was going to be ready for Thursday. That is the case. He's going to be rejoining the team. That's huge news for the team. It kind of pushes certain guys like Nick Bjugstad to the wing now. So that's pretty interesting. We'll keep an eye on that and how that plays out for the team. Obviously, it is his revenge game, I guess, if we want to call it that, against Utah tonight, even though it wasn't necessarily a trade or anything like that. He is playing his former team. So something to look out in terms of that as well. And the goaltending. Jim Montgomery has spoke out and said that, Jordan Binnington will play less this year, or he's going to try to make it that way, than he did last year. So they're going to have to rely on Hofer a little bit more. And at times so far this season, in the small sample size that we have seen Hofer, he has both looked elite and unbeatable and horrific. So we will see what Joel Hofer we get tonight. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. But I think one thing's for sure, they're going to be managing Jordan Binnington's workload this year because they don't want him to play as much as last year in general. But on top of that, you would imagine he's going to be the starter or one of two goalies or three goalies for Team Canada in the Olympics. So he's going to be very busy this year. You want to manage his workload as well. If he plays 50 games, then he's going to the Olympics, maybe 60 games, something like that. Then you head into the playoffs. You might run into having a situation where you have a tired goalie. So a couple of interesting storylines happening so far this year. Logan Mayu, is added back to the group now. That's a big thing heading into tonight as well, and some other interesting storylines as well, Mark.
And I think that's the biggest thing is, listen, getting Mayu back into the lineup. We know the quote from Jim Montgomery. Once he returns, he will not be taken out. So I'm expecting a lot coming out of him. But once again, before we get into that, there is a few things to look at the Blues team. Listen, they have had trouble going out to get consistent scoring from a lot of their guys. But when looking at this from Blues Muse, despite the inconsistent start to the year, the Blues are well ranked in some advanced stats, looking at 5-on-5. One of the highest, 7th overall in the league in expected goals for percentage at 53.4%. Corsi is 8th. Fenwick at 12. You can look at all of this with the expected goal differential being 7th. The Blues should be a top 10 offense, and they're not really getting this. Is this bad luck? Is it themselves? What is it? And I think we're going to finally see, and I think Jim Montgomery knows this as well. Listen, the lines are changing a lot. We're seeing Cam Fowler play with Logan Mayu. We're seeing everything kind of just mix and match. But looking at the team itself, I think it's a string of bad luck. A lot of new faces joined to this lineup. A lot of guys look great. Suter has been outstanding. Bjugstad hasn't got into his full game form yet. But Darius, looking at the team, do you look at these stats and say, hey, a lot of this does show the Blues should be a good scoring team? Is this bad luck, or do you think they're just going out there maybe not deploying the right way?
Well, I think with all the advanced analytics that we have available now, it's showing us that, yes, the team is running into a bit of bad luck. Honestly, if you look at everything, we have all of these analytics available to us now. They are playing like they could be a top 10 team. But the thing for me, and I'm going to be that guy for the sake of this video, is if you looked at this stuff 50 years ago or 40 years ago, they didn't have these analytics, right? So all I think that these analytics are doing right now is not allowing fans to hit the panic button right away, right? It really gives us an idea of like, okay, they probably will figure it out if things stay this way. And obviously the luck will shift because it's a big part of hockey, right? Especially over the course of a long season. So I feel like that's what it's allowing fans to do. But the results are the same. Like I said, if you go 50, 40 years in the past, you don't have these analytics and the team would be making moves based on feel and the fact that there hasn't been any, results in that way. So if you look at it from that point of view, they do have to start putting together some results. I think these analytics for us, it just paints a picture of, certain lines and certain players have been pretty good. And if it continues this way, they will be fine. So there's no reason to panic or make a trade or anything like that. But it has to continue in that way. And they have to, show some results for it, right? So if it, dips at all, any of that, and the results are still not there, then that will be a problem. So we want to see some results. The lines are absolutely in a blender right now. This is completely different than what we saw to start the season. And it has been the entire time, honestly. I thought that they were going to come into the season with what they had and it was going to work out well based on what we saw. But clearly the blender is out. Certain guys are, we didn't expect Suter and Snuggerud to have some synergy there. So I want to see what they do again tonight. But yeah, to me, I think the biggest thing is when you look at those analytics, no reason to panic yet. They look really good, but the results have to be there. I'm sure they'll follow if they continue to play at this level, but they have to. That's just the fact of the matter.
And I think the big thing is getting Logan Mayu, and the biggest story right now in St. Louis with him coming over, high expectations, and we do get a quote coming from him as well. We know with him back in the lineup, and from Jeremy Rutherford, go check out all his work as well, that he spent some time in game conversations with Al McGinnis, Robert Bertuzzo, and even Chris Pronger trying to get his head into shape. And he did speak on a lot of this as well. He goes into speaking on a couple Blues legends. It's a little bit play-by-play, but in general stuff too. It's the stuff that maybe think I can do better. They've been great, and I don't take that for granted. Going straight into speaking on with Chris Pronger, we did have a chat. He's a guy who's been in a similar scenario. He was saying when it came over that it wasn't going as hot at the start, maybe not how he was expecting. I think that kind of the same boat with me. Darius, looking at this, listen, there's a lot floating around with Logan Mayu. We want the bets. A young budding star that hasn't played well yet, but we've seen it with defensemen. Chris Pronger himself, what is your thoughts with the high praise from Jim Montgomery, seeing him speak to a couple legends coming through the St. Louis system? Do you think this is where we finally see him take the next step after that quick reset?
I think the biggest thing for me with a young defenseman and Logan Mayu, this player in particular, coming to the Blues this year and really getting his first shot at NHL action because he's played a couple games for Montreal in the past, is confidence and not allowing him to lose that confidence and that the mental aspect of the game, because it could have gotten away from him very quickly here. So that's the biggest thing to me. And the Blues having all this alumni and guys available to them as resources to make calls like this to a young defenseman and say, like Chris Pronger, who had a Hall of Fame career and won a Stanley Cup, is calling you and saying, you're a good player, right? Like, don't stress too much about this. You will be fine. Continue to play with confidence. That is the biggest thing to me, because if they didn't have that, if they weren't making these calls, and it was just like, oh, he's being sent back to the AHL, that would be disastrous for his development. But this is a player that will be fine, and we've been saying it on the channel, but it was a problem early in the season, a couple games ago. They had to address it. It's not something you can just, throw behind you and pretend like it's not happening. You had to do something about it, and they did. So I think this is honestly the best case scenario with where we're at right now. Obviously, best case scenario would have been he comes in, he's a great offensive defenseman, he's playing physical, he looks amazing, he's Lane Hudson, right? Like the equivalent of that right now, right? But that's not happening. So you have to roll with the punches. I think they're doing the best job that they possibly can with this player. They're taking their time and trying not to sewer his confidence, which to me is the biggest thing here. Keep him ready to go, not discouraged, and he'll be totally fine. He's going to be a great player.
And I think everyone can say it. They're excited to see Logan Mayu get back into the lineup. Hopefully it's better than the start, because we know it was a bit rough, but he's a great player. We've seen in the past. He can create offense, a big body. He's not afraid to get annoying with other players. Everything points to Logan Mayu being a great player. But fans, what is your thoughts? How many points does Logan Mayu put up? Does he score his first goal with the St. Louis Blues? Does he have a multi-point night? Let us know who you think the biggest performer going into the game versus the Bjugstad Bowl when we see him play in the Utah Mammoth. Let us know down in the comments. And speaking on comments, let's go straight into comments today. Coming through with this whole convo can switch right quick, and the self-respect reinstated with a win tonight. That's for sure. And I think that's the biggest thing. The Blues just need to get consistent wins, quality wins. And I think we're going to see this now that the lineup looks more like what we were expecting, or more different than what we've seen to start the year. But let us know what you think the score of the game is going to be down in the comments. You could be featured on Comment of the Day. While down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode. Maybe I won't be in Jim Montgomery's blender next time, but I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius. Take care, Blues fans.